summer of 2023, I took a short-term gig manning a fire lookout tower in the remote Appalachian mountains. I thought it would be peaceful. Just me, the trees, and a radio. No traffic, no people. I couldn't have imagined that being alone up there would put me in more danger than I've ever felt in my life. Because someone, was watching from the woods below from the very start moment I arrived. And whatever it was, it didn't want me there. Upon arrival, I noted a few unexpected things. The tower was old but stable, 30 feet high, steel-framed with a creaky spiral staircase that groaned under every step. The forest stretched out in every direction, endless ridges and valleys. No cell signal, just static on the radio unless I pointed the antenna just right. I thought that was really weird. My first few days were quiet, a few deer, owls, and some raccoons. But on the fourth night, just a little after 2 a.m., I heard the sound of gravel shifting below the tower. Not fast, just a crunch, then a pause. I stood up from my cot, heart already racing. I turned off my lantern, crouched low, and looked out the small, fogged window facing the staircase. Nothing, just trees and the pale outline of the steps below. Then I heard it again. Step, pause, step, pause. Whoever or whatever it was, I was certain that it was now climbing the stairs. I grabbed the heavy flashlight and aimed it down. Nothing, just the metal spiral winding into the darkness. But I swear I heard breathing, slow, heavy, just below the landing. "Hello? You lost or something?" I called out, trying to sound firm. Silence. Not even the trees moved. I locked the hatch that led to the platform below. Then I sat there, gun in lap, flashlight in hand, too scared to blink. The breathing was gone. Kind of weird, I thought. It was hours before the sun came up. When I finally looked, everything seemed normal. I felt like I was lying to myself. The next night, the radio crackled at 1:47 a.m. Only static. Then, briefly, a whisper. "Get out." I froze. The signal went dead. That night, I heard footsteps on the metal again, but faster this time. Not climbing, circling the base of the tower, pacing, almost like it was trying to figure something out. I didn't switch off the security lights that night, but still, I didn't sleep. A little after midnight, I heard low muttering. Almost rhythmic, maybe chanting. It rose and fell like breath. I kept hearing weird noises the whole night. By the fifth night, I was unraveling, sleep-deprived, terrified. Still, I tried to convince myself it was a prank. Locals messing with me because I was an outsider. But on the sixth night, I realized that this was very real. Around 1 a.m., I saw a flashlight beam flickering from the tree line. When I tried to look a little bit more keenly, it vanished. 5 minutes later, I heard the metal stairs groaning again. Then something tapped on the trapdoor beneath my feet. Just once, then again, louder. I freaked, but I remained still, fully engulfed in fear, though. "Who's out there?" I asked in a shaken voice. The only response was silence. And then I heard the whisper, this time just under the floorboards. At dawn, I sprinted down the stairs. It was quiet. I didn't see any sign of an intruder. But something had carved weird symbols into the dirt around the tower. Circles, twisted lines like some backwoods warning. I tried to radio for help. Nothing. Dead air. I packed what I could and started the 5-mile hike back to where I'd parked. Every so often I'd hear branches snap behind me, but I never saw anyone. When I finally got to my truck, a note was tucked under the windshield wiper. Just 4 words. "You don't belong here." That was last summer. I never went back. I told myself I imagined it, sleep deprivation, paranoia. But sometimes at night I still hear those stairs creaking in my dreams, and I swear even now if I stand still outside, I hear something pacing. Step, pause, step. My life has changed completely. There is no doubt that someone or something stalked and followed me along the thick forest. Still, I have many unanswered questions regarding my experience and my first few days working as a fire outlook operator. I hope I never have to through what I experienced those few nights at the Appalachia, all alone. Stalking is real, guys, and it can be very horrifying, especially when you are haunted by some kind of a spirit that is determined to inflict fear into you. So watch out the next time you plan and execute that hiking adventure plan into the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains have always been home to strange things. Echoes in the woods, whispers that mimic your voice, and trails that lead nowhere. I used to think that was just folklore, until one weekend changed everything. What followed us into the forest was not an animal. It wasn't human or just a real person trying to scare us either, and horrifyingly, it knew our names. We were 3 grad students from Boone. Me, Lyle, and Reese. We needed a break, so we headed for an old ranger trail outside Roan Mountain, near the Tennessee border. Supposedly, it had been decommissioned after a flood washed out half the bridges. Apparently, Lyle's uncle had left behind a hand-marked map. A shortcut, he called it. Takes you through Cold Iron Hollow. Reese joked it sounded like a death metal album. The reason why her uncle kept the map remained a mystery. But I heard earlier that it meant a lot to him and his ancestral family. Kind of weird, I thought when I learned about it. We set up camp late. Thick fog rolled in fast, the kind that coils low like it's hiding something. We laughed about it at first, cracked beers, tossed logs on the fire. Although everything seemed okay at first, I got this weird feeling of tension, almost being afraid of entering the forest in the first place. I had gone hiking many times before, but this one felt awkward, almost wrong. But I brushed the feeling off and focused on enjoying the moment with my friends. On the very first night, Reese and I were sitting by the fire when we heard something unusual, almost like someone repeated our laughter. Initially, we thought they were echoes, but not quite the way you would hear echoes when you enter abandoned buildings. We looked at each other in astonishment. "What was that?" Reese whispered. "Echo, maybe," I told her. But the voice was deeper, warped slightly, and didn't bounce. It crept forward. Then came a low clicking sound, sharp, deliberate, from the trees behind us. Lyle came out of the tent rubbing his eyes, and the 3 of us stood there in silence. No one seemed to understand what was going on. The woods around us felt weird, almost haunting. No crickets, no wind, just breath and fog. Suddenly, from the ridge, we heard an unusual voice, which sounded similar to mine. Almost my exact tone. Murmur. "You shouldn't be here." We bolted into the tent and zipped it quickly. We held our breaths. For a few minutes, we didn't move even an inch. Then Lyle whispered, I think it's gone. And for a few more moments, we didn't hear anything. It remained all dead silent. Morning came, but the trail didn't look right. Trees swayed aimlessly. Some seemed to have vanished. We hiked fast, hoping to get to the old ranger station marked on the map. Apparently, the station was very far away from what we anticipated. In the evening, around 6 p.m., we had not arrived yet, and it started getting dark. It didn't take long to realize that something was off. Before we could even get to the ranger station, we saw something that really horrified us. An abandoned cabin, sagging on one side. The door was sealed with barbed wire. Scratched into the frame was a symbol, a circle split by an arrow. I have never been in a situation that seemed so wrong and weird. The ranger was nowhere to be found. We spent the evening at the station, but that very night, Reese woke us up in a panic. Something's in the trees. We listened. You three. Not loud, software tempting. We piled into the station and barricaded the door. But the voices didn't stop. They came from all around. Sometimes sounding like Reese, sometimes like my mom, sometimes like things we hadn't heard in years. At 3:12 a.m., someone knocked 3 times on the station wall. Not the door, the wall. Lyle opened a slat in the window and screamed. "I saw someone out there," she screamed, sounding really horrified. We looked. There was nothing, just trees swaying in the darkness. "We are not alone in this mountain. We have never been since we came up here," Reese whispered. Early the following morning, we got back to the camp. What we experienced that night was too scary for anyone to handle. But even as we drove across the thick forest, I felt like we were being followed, sometimes beside the car, sometimes in front. I swear the woods themselves moved, trails turned, the river ran uphill. Everything just appeared wrong. At some point, we heard voices say our names. We didn't make it out until dusk the next day. When we reached the road, we saw what seemed like 3 figures standing in the trees. But we didn't have time to pay attention or check them out. None of us has gone back to the Appalachian Mountains. Cold Iron Hollow isn't on any official map anymore, but I know it's real. Sometimes at night I dream of fog rolling beneath a dead sky, and my own voice whispering, "Come back. We're not done yet." I live in fear. If you ever see an old watchtower in the Pisgah backcountry, even the one that's highly recommended, don't get anywhere close to it. No matter what it shows you, no matter who you hear calling your name, it isn't real. And it's not you it's showing things to. It's them. I was hiking with my sister, Kelsey, and her boyfriend, Mark, deep in western North Carolina. It was mid-October, all oranges and golds, and we were doing a 4-day loop near Max Patch. No phones, no GPS, just an old USGS topo and compasses. On the second morning, fog rolled in, fast like it had somewhere to be. We assumed it would lift by noon. It didn't. Instead, it got thicker and colder. We hadn't seen a trail blaze in 2 hours when Mark spotted something, an old fire tower, metal frame type, half rusted but still standing tall above the trees. "Not on the map," Kelsey said. "Might get a view above the fog," Mark shrugged. I told them it felt wrong. The silence, the air, the way the fog swirled toward it, not away. But they went anyway. So I followed. The tower was empty, no gear, just a metal grate floor and half-shattered windows. We waited. Fog didn't move. Then, looking shaken, Mark said, "I see some people out there. On the trail, we just came up. I looked. Sure enough, we saw a few figures walking in unison. Same clothes, same pace, like a playback. They seemed to have hiked into the fog and vanished. We stood in silence. Then the radio buzzed. There was no signal, but something on the floor was clicking, like static. Over and over, a voice, almost like our voices, echoing in reverse, rewinding. We got down fast, but things changed fast after that. The trail signs were wrong. Time moved weird. Kelsey said that she saw a figure that seemed like herself, alone, staring at her from behind a tree. Then we saw the tower again. On the ridge ahead, same distance, same tilt, same torn flag fluttering halfway up. We hadn't looped, we hadn't turned. We were being led. At least that was the most likely conclusion we reached at that time. Later that night, we camped in a hollow ringed by firs. That's when we heard this faint, weird laughter. But not children this time. The laughter mimicked us, at something one of us had said earlier. The same exact cadence, played back through the trees like it had been recorded. At around 2:17 a.m., Mark separated from us. Since it was really dark, it felt like we lost him. We saw him 30 minutes later, standing at the base of the fire tower. He seemed weary and horrified. When we asked what had happened, he said that a dark figure cornered and frightened him when we separated. "It's not here to joke. It's up for blood," he said. We didn't understand what he meant. Not until the next day when we saw another group of dark figures on the trail. 3 people, same clothes, same backpacks, but they weren't moving right. One of them appeared like a ghost, had no eyes, just stretched skin. But he still turned his head toward us. We panicked. We started running. Our compass spun uncontrollably. Fog pressed in. Eventually, we reached a gravel service road and flagged down a fire truck. Out of sheer luck, we met a ranger on duty. Apparently, the ranger had received reports of unusual activities in the mountain 2 days earlier. He helped us find a way out of the forest, but what he said next sent chills down our nerves. "There is no tower around here. The nearest fire tower was dismantled in 2003. We instantly realized that we were being played all along. I think some dark spirit manipulated our sight or something. It was really terrifying to know that we were in real danger the very first time we entered the Appalachia. We got even more horrified. Although I have since forgotten that scary experience, sometimes I hear my own voice in the woods behind my house and in the garden at night. Sometimes I dream of climbing a tower that's not there, and sometimes I wake up to frightening murmurs outside my bedroom door. I guess those dark figures still haunt me to this day.